Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day to everyone. In our last session, we had our discussion on introduction to international business law, the definition of law, the definition of international business, the classification of international law, and the sources of international law. So, in this video, we'll be moving into another subtopic under Chapter 1, which is UN agencies which are related to international business. So when we talk about UN agencies, of course, there are so many UN agencies which are related to international business. However, for the purpose of our topic, we'll be focusing only 5 UN agencies which are ILO, UNCITRAL, UNCTAD, WIPO, and UNODC. So let's go. For the first UN agencies we'll be talking about is ILO. ILO stands for International Labour Organization. It was created in 1919 as a part of a treaty that ended the World War I. 2 years ago, ILO just celebrated their 100th anniversaries. Wow! Why ILO was created? And what were the purposes at the time? Why they think that ILO is a need? ILO was created to reflect the belief that universal and lasting peace can be accomplished only if it is based on social justice. So, the first International Labour Conference held in Washington in October 1919. During the convention, they adopted 6 international labour conventions which dealt with hours of work in industry, unemployment, maternity protection, night work for women, minimum age, and night work for young person in industry. For decades, the ILO has played a role at key historical junctures: the Great Depression, decolonization, the creation of Solidarność in Poland, the victory over apartheid in South Africa, and today, in the building of an ethical and productive framework for a fair globalization. So in 1919, the constitution of ILO was drafted by the Labour Commission, chaired by Samuel Gompers, head of the American Federation of Labor in the United States of America. It was composed of representatives from 9 countries: Belgium, Cuba, Czechoslovakia, France, Italy, Japan, Poland, and the United Kingdom, and of course, the United States. The process resulted in a tripartite organization, the only one of its kind, bringing together representatives of government, employers, and workers in its executive bodies. ILO has 4 strategic objectives. The first one is to promote and realize standards and fundamental principles and rights at work. It is to ensure that the employer will not take advantage over the workers, and the welfare of the workers will be taken care of by the employers. At the same time, the workers knows their rights and their responsibilities towards the employers. Second, to create greater opportunities for women and men to decent employment and income. It is to ensure that equal treatment between women and men, for example, in terms of promotion, in terms of the position at the workplace. Third, to enhance the coverage and effectiveness of social protection for all. And finally, to strengthen tripartism and social dialogues between the government, the employers, and also the workers. ILO serve the society in many ways, including the formulation of international policies and programs to promote basic human rights, improve working and living conditions, and enhance employment opportunities. Other than that, ILO serve the society in creation of international labor standards backed by a unique system to supervise their application. In addition, ILO also serve the society in extensive program of international technical cooperation formulated and implemented in an active partnership with constituents to help countries put these policies into practice in an effective manner. And also, they provide training, education, and research activities to help advance of all these efforts. For further reference, you may refer to ILO websites www.ilo.org. Okay, now we move to UNCITRAL, stand for United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, which is the core legal body of the United Nations system in the field of international trade law. When the world trade began to expand dramatically in the 1960s, national government began to realize the need for a global set of standards, the acceptance of national and regional regulation. They turned to the United Nations, which in 1966 recognized the need for it to play an active role in removing legal obstacles to the flow of international trade and established the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, or in short, we call it as UNCITRAL. Since then, UNCITRAL became the core legal body of the United Nations system in the field of international trade law. UNCITRAL comprises 60 member states elected by the United Nations General Assembly for a term of 6 years. Membership is structured to ensure representation of the world's various geographic regions and its principal economic and legal system. For current practice, the 60 member states include 14 African states, 14 Asian states, 8 Eastern European states, 10 Latin American and Caribbean states, and 14 Western European and other states. What UNCITRAL does for international trade? UNCITRAL develops different types of texts to modernize and harmonize the law of international trade. These texts are generally legislative in nature, such as convention, model law, and legislative guides. The non-legislative texts, such as contractual rules, that can be incorporated into commercial contract and legal guides. Over the last 24 years, UNCITRAL has completed major international texts, for example, on the sale of goods, which they developed United Nations Convention on Contract for the International Sales of Goods in 1980. This topic will be discussed in Chapter 2. UNCITRAL also provide technical legislative assistance for modernization of trade laws and commercial practices. In addition to promoting understanding of international trade law texts and the benefit they can bring to the expansion of international trade, UNCITRAL assists states to develop the law required to implement these legislative texts and commercial association to promote the use of non-legislative rules. As I mentioned earlier, UNCITRAL is the core legal body of the United Nations in international trade law. Sometimes people may get confused the function of UNCITRAL and also the function of World Trade Organization. What are the differences between these two organizations? UNCITRAL is a subsidiary body of the General Assembly of the United Nations. The Secretariat of UNCITRAL is the International Trade Law Division of the Office of Legal Affairs of the United Nations Secretariat. In contrast, the World Trade Organization or WTO is an intergovernmental organization independent from the United Nations. So this is the first difference between UNCITRAL and WTO. Second, UNCITRAL deals with the law applicable to private parties in international transactions. As a consequence, UNCITRAL is not involved with state-to-state issues such as anti-dumping, countervailing duties, or import quotas. On the other hand, the WTO deals with trade policy issues such as trade liberalization, abolition of trade barriers, unfair trade practices, or other similar issues usually related to public law or state-to-state matters. For more information on UNCITRAL, you may refer to its website www.uncitral.org. Okay, now we move to the third UN agencies, which is important in international trade. UNCTAD, or United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. UNCTAD is a permanent intergovernmental body established by the UN General Assembly in 1964. Currently, UNCTAD is governed by its 195 member states. What are they doing? UNCTAD is responsible for dealing with economic and sustainable development issues, with a focus on trade, finance, investment, and technology. It helps developing countries to participate equitably in global economy. UNCTAD works can be summed up in three words. Word number one, think. UNCTAD carries out economic research, produces innovative analyses, and make policy recommendation to support government decision making. Word number two, debate. UNCTAD is a forum where representatives of all countries can freely engage in dialogue, share experiences, and tackle critical issues affecting the global economy. It promotes consensus at the multilateral level. Word number three, deliver. UNCTAD turns research finding into practical application and offers direct technical assistance to help countries build the capacities they need for equitable integration into the global economy and improve the well-being of their population. In terms of trade and commodities, UNCTAD promotes development through international trade by producing analyses and collecting data to improve understanding of current and future problems in this area, supporting the participation of developing countries in international trade and international trade negotiations on equitable basis, seeking to strengthen international trade in services and promotes an integrated approach to trade, the environment, and sustainable development, analyzing issues related to competition, policy, and consumer protection, and focusing on the contribution of the commodity sector to development, advocating diversification and risk management. In terms of investment and enterprise, UNCTAD offers member state expertise on issues related to investment and enterprise development. It also conducts cutting-edge research and analysis in the field of investment for sustainable development. And it also informs policymakers about the structure, evolution of foreign direct investment in the world and outline the main trend in investment. UNCTAD also provides technical assistance to enable beneficiary countries to attract more investment for sustainable development, including through investment policy reviews. In terms of least developed countries, UNCTAD helps more than 90 countries in their effort to reach the target they have set for economic progress. These countries belong to categories that receive special attention from the United Nations and in many cases special treatment to compensate for the disadvantages they face in the global economy. In terms of technology and logistics, UNCTAD conduct research in science, technology, including information and communication technology, and innovation for development. UNCTAD helps developing countries design and implement technology and innovation policies for economic growth and sustainable development. And last one, UNCTAD also carries out a broad program of work to establish efficient services in transport, trade facilitation, and custom. For more information on UNCTAD, you may refer to unctad.org. Next, we have WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, which was established in 1967. WIPO is the Global Forum for Intellectual Property, or IP, services, policy, information, and cooperation. It is a self-funding agency of the United Nations, and currently WIPO has 193 member states. Its mission is to lead the development of a balanced and effective international IP system that enables innovation and creativity for the benefit of all. What is IP? IP, or intellectual property, refers to creation of the mind, such as invention, artistic work, design, names, and images used in commerce. IP is protected in law. For example, patents, copyrights, and trademarks, which enable people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they invent or create. By striking the right balance between the interests of innovators and the wider public interest, the IP system aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish. We have a few types of intellectual property. First is copyright. Copyright is a legal term used to describe the rights that creators have over their artistic works. Works covered by copyright range from books, music, painting, sculpture, and films. Next, we have patent. A patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention. Generally speaking, a patent provides the patent owner with the right to decide how or whether the invention can be used by others. The third type of intellectual property is trademarks. A trademark is a sign capable of distinguishing the goods or services of one enterprise from those of other enterprises. Trademarks date back to ancient times when artisans used to put their signature or mark on their product. For example, when we say McDonald's or KFC, we already know what are the services they are offering. Types number 4 is industrial design. And industrial design constitutes the ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article. A design may consist of three-dimensional features such as the shape or surface of an article, or of two-dimensional features such as patterns, line, or color. Next is geographical indication. Geographical indication, or GI, is a sign used on goods that have a specific geographical origin and possess qualities, a reputation, or characteristic that are essentially attributable to that place of origin. Most commonly, a GI includes the name of the place of origin of the goods. For example, Halia Bentong. And the last one is trade secrets. Trade secrets are IP rights on confidential information which may be sold or licensed. The unauthorized acquisition, use, or disclosure of such secret information in a manner contrary to honest commercial practices by others is regarded as an unfair practice and a violation of a trade secret protection. So, how WIPO can assist international traders? WIPO provide a policy forum to shape balanced international IP rules for a changing world. WIPO also is a global services to protect IP across borders and to resolve disputes. WIPO also provide technical infrastructure to connect IP system and share knowledge. Other than that, WIPO provides cooperation and capacity building programs to enable all countries to use IP for economic, social, and cultural development. And WIPO also is a world reference source for IP information. Among the famous case of intellectual property is between Apple and Samsung on patent. For more information, you may go to www.wipo.int. And lastly, we have UNODC or United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. UNODC is a global leader in the fight against illicit drugs and international crime. It was established in 1997, quite new, through a merger between the United Nations Drug Control Program and the Center for International Crime Prevention. UNODC relies on voluntary contribution, mainly from government, for 90% of its budget. There are three pillars of UNODC work program. First, field-based technical cooperation project to enhance the capacity of member states to counteract illicit drugs, crimes, and terrorism. Second, research and analytical work to increase knowledge and understanding of drugs and crime issues and expand the evidence base for policy and operational decision. Third, normative work to assist states in the ratification and implementation of the relevant international treaties, the development of domestic legislation on drugs, crime, and terrorism, and the provision of secretariat and substantive services to the treaty-based and governing bodies. How UNODC works? First, in organized crime and trafficking, UNODC helps government react to the instability and insecurity caused by crimes like the smuggling of illicit drugs between countries and continents. In terms of corruption, UNODC partners with the public and private sectors to loosen the grips that corrupt individuals have on government and step up its effort to help states recover assets stolen by corrupt officials. In terms of crime prevention and criminal justice reform, UNODC promotes the use of training manuals and the adoption of codes of conduct. In terms of drug abuse prevention and health, UNODC come out with educational campaigns and by basing its approach on scientific findings. And in terms of terrorism prevention, there are more programmatic approach that involves developing long-term customized assistance to entities involved in investigating and adjudicating cases linked to terrorism. So these are 5 UN agencies which are important and related to international business. They work closely in developing the policy, in conducting training to member states, in providing technical assistance, and in crime prevention, and so on. You can make your own further research by referring to their websites to get more information of these UN agencies that I mentioned earlier. So thank you for watching. See you again in my next video. Thank you.